Wreck My Podcast.
Slick your hair back and put on those fancy sunglasses because this week we're revisiting Spy Kids. Will it wreck our childhood? Well, you gotta listen to find out.
Wreck My Podcast.
Welcome to this episode of the Wreck My Podcast, where we're talking about Spy Kids. This one's a little bit different. A few things. If you're watching the YouTube video, got a weird angle going on here. You can see I'm wearing joggers that have the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on them, so that's kind of weird. Naturally. And that voice is my wife, not the typical guests you hear, Cam, Joe, and Krager, but my wife is here, Madison.
Yay! I haven't been on since like the Lunchables episode.
Yeah, it's been a while
so
since you've been
long.
on. Yeah. So we were just perusing through Netflix on Friday night after having a date night and kind of just wanting to chill and watch. We wanted to Netflix and chill.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Married version,
which is literally just watching Netflix. And we stumbled across Spy Kids, and we thought that we would watch Spy Kids and do an episode because that sounded...
Wait, hold
Well,
on,
you thought,
because
because you said...
No, I was going to say like maybe 2 months ago when it came on to Netflix, I was like, we should watch Spy Kids. And you were like, nah, I don't really want to watch it. And then on Friday, I'm like, please, this would be such a good episode. Like, I didn't go to movies a lot when I was a kid, but I vividly remember sitting in the theater watching Spy Kids.
So that was one of the few ones you saw in theater then, huh? I remember seeing it in theaters too. It's a weird movie. I don't remember it being as weird as it was when I watched it, but when you're a kid, you're just kind of oblivious.
Everything's weird when
In fact,
you're a kid.
I know where I saw this movie. You know how it's weird? You have those moments and those memories, and there's no real apparent reason why they stick in your brain, but you have them there.
Yeah.
I watched this movie at a movie theater in Phoenix, Arizona, because my grandparents lived there, and this movie came out the time that we were visiting my grandparents in Phoenix, and we went to the Arrowhead Mall in Peoria, Arizona, and we watched it at the theater there. I vividly remember going in to see this movie there. Super crazy, super weird.
That's funny. I watched it at the theater we currently live across from.
Yeah, we live... Weird how that happens.
It is weird.
Two things here, disclaimers real quick. One, if it's a little echoey, more echoey than normal, I apologize. We're doing it in our house. Obviously, if you're watching, you can tell that. If you're listening, we are in our house. You might hear our dog a little bit. We kind of used to do it here, but the sound quality is not 100%, so we do it at a different spot, but we wanted to be comfortable tonight. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Easter weekend.
And if you hear laundry going in the background, that's part of doing it from home.
Hashtag real life.
Hashtag real life. So thank you for tuning in, and I apologize if there's any of that. And if it's going to bug you, then too bad. Get over it. So the first thing I want to talk about here is let's talk about the movie a little bit. So you remember it's one of the few movies you saw in theaters as a kid. Were you really into this movie as a kid then?
Okay, so I didn't actually I wasn't begging my parents to go and see it. I went because a friend of mine really wanted to go see it, and her parents took me with her. Mm-hmm. And I remember just the opening sequence where they do the flashbacks, and then you see what the parents are actually doing.
Yeah.
And the little makeup specifically, where the mom can see her little spy screen through her makeup. I remember being blown away. And I remember vividly going home that night and laying out my fake makeup and pretending I could be a spy. So I wasn't super excited going into it, but after it was my favorite movie for 2 weeks.
Yeah. So you were unassuming. You were unassuming going into this, and then you really, really liked it. I feel like I did enjoy this movie, but it wasn't one of those ones that was on heavy rotation when I was a kid.
No.
I saw it in the theaters, maybe saw it once or twice again on TV or something when I was a kid or somewhere or whatever. So it was kind of interesting to go back to this one and see it as an adult. What do you... Well, before we get to whether it wrecked it or not, let's talk about this movie a little bit.
Yeah.
Between driving the kids to school...
Mommy's mimicking me! Mommy's mimicking me!
And putting them to bed.
Good night.
No one would ever guess that Mom and Dad are the world's top secret agents.
We've got to follow her.
Not for long.
What'd you do?
Your parents are international spies, but something's gone wrong.
My parents can't be spies. They're not cool enough.
That's cool.
Now, the the only two people who can save them are their kids.
I think it's up to us. You with me. Okay. How to be a spy. Good spy puts himself in the mindset of the opponent. Ew, gross. What do you see? You. Juni!
Now, they're on a mission
I knew this was gonna happen!
to stop an evil genius.
You promised us an army, Mr. Fluke.
They're very capable robots.
And I can make them look like anyone. President's daughter?
Rescue their parents and save the world.
Gotcha!
Never send a grown-up to do a kid's job. Spy Kids. Real spies. Only smaller.
First thing that was interesting to me that I totally forgot about. This movie came out in 2001. So I was
9.
12 and you were 9. So was I getting a little too old to be watching this movie? No, this movie, even rewatching it, it skews more towards the preteen, early
But this
teen
is the
type
thing.
thing.
I think that the difference would be that the spy kid that's a boy is like 5,
Yeah.
and the spy kid that was a girl was like my age at the time. So it was a little bit more like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And she had like the really cool limited 2 outfits.
I know.
That's
it
what I
was
was
so
talking
90s
about. Like
looking clothing.
so
in that.
90s. But I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Yeah, so the thing I forgot about this movie is that it was written and directed by Robert Rodriguez, which is interesting because I was telling you, you don't really know a lot of names and stuff like that. So Robert Rodriguez, he directed From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh,
that movie
okay.
I keep trying to get us to watch. The Faculty, that one that was on Netflix all the time about the teachers and faculty going crazy and stuff. Machete, which we'll talk about Machete later. He did all 3 or 4 of Spy Kids movies. However, that Sin City he directed. He directed the Grindhouse movie, you know, with Planet Terror, and the one that the chick with the guns for the feet, I think is what it was.
Interesting.
Yeah. And he did, let's see here, the second Sin City. I didn't know he did A Dame to Kill For. I actually didn't see the second Sin City. I liked the first one, never really got there. And guess what he's currently announced is Machete Kills in Space. So, yeah, there's a movie here called 100 Years that says completed, that says the date it's coming out is 21/15. What? He's doing some weird stuff. He probably made a movie in 2015 that he won't release for 100 years, and it's like in a time capsule or something.
Maybe.
I'm completely making that up. Who knows? But I'm assuming because that's what it says on here. So Robert Rodriguez, weird. That's really the only kids movie that he did. One weird credit he has here is he did a video short for Demi Lovato called Confident.
Oh, I know that song.
So, okay, he's got some weird stuff in here. He's definitely got some weird
He's
stuff in here.
got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, but yeah, Robert Rodriguez directed and wrote. Super crazy. Let me read you a little description of what this movie is. In case you haven't seen it or don't know or don't remember, essentially what this is it's 2 spies who fall in love and decide to retire from spying, and they have 2 kids, and these kids are kind of extra special because like the girl is able to like do a lot of the crazy gymnastics, but the boy isn't quite getting there, and they come out of retirement to stop someone stealing all the other spies, and in doing so they get caught. Their kids have to come to their rescue. A bunch of craziness ensues. Some thumbs are chasing them. Thumbs.
Yes.
A bunch of random floopers. We see Monk there. We see Terminator from Terminator 2 there, this liquid dude. Well, there's a lot of weird things. We see Machete show up. Well, there's a lot of weird crap going on in this movie. But essentially, the kids rescue their parents and save the day. Woo! Okay, Spy Kids. That's the.
That was a very short and sweet but accurate
accurate of what it was. So the budget for this movie was $35 million.
Whoa.
But guess what it made?
How much?
35 is really low.
No, I know, but I'm just thinking of like, I guess it's because nowadays I'm like, but that CGI was horrible.
Yes, but at the time, that CGI,
Yeah.
we'll talk about the CGI was in line with what Sharknado is today.
Yes,
Same
absolutely.
CGI. So the CGI that was cutting edge in 2001 is now what the people who make a movie for $100,000 do.
Yes.
But 35 million, I mean, most of that money went to the actors, let's be honest. We'll talk about who was in it in a second, but it grossed $112 million. So it made its money back. It made 26 opening weekend, and it opened April 1st of 2001. So we're pretty close to getting that 18-year mark on the dot almost with this one. But yeah, 112 worldwide. It made 147. So I don't know what international market it went to that made another 30 grand, but they made their money back on this movie, and they made 3 more. And you pretty much can watch these 2 kids grow up.
They pretty much used all the profit to put in.
Yeah, to the next one. Yeah, exactly.
Dwindling the other 3.
So let's talk about who's in this. First off, we have Antonio Banderas.
Yes.
Zorro the Mask. Yes. What are some other things that Antonio Banderas is in? I'm kind of flying off the seat of my pants. I normally have all this prepared, but we did this kind of impromptu. So we're talking through it.
I mean, let's
Our
be
listeners
honest.
are going to listen
Everybody
through this
knows
with us.
Antonio Banderas.
Yeah,
for
if you don't know who
Zorro.
Antonio Banderas is, where
But
have you been?
if you're a '90s kid, like he
that's
was
what you know him
the
for.
Zorro.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's anything random here he was in that we were he was in the SpongeBob movie Sponge Out of Water. He played Burger Beard. That was interesting.
I feel like he's somebody who, like, even though like our generation doesn't know him for a lot of really big roles, like everybody knows his name. Now he does a lot of like cameos and voiceover acting.
You know who people like a generation below us would probably know, or like a few years younger than us? Puss in Boots. He's Puss in Boots from Shrek.
Absolutely.
I totally forgot about that. He showed up in an episode of oh no, that's not true. He did not show up in an episode of Big Bang Theory. He showed up in an episode of something else. So Antonio Banderas, The Legend of Zorro. Come on, he's Shrek, Legend of Zorro. What else do you need to know? He's in Spy Kids, Shrek, and Zorro. Like, those are the best. I think he did some Robert Rodriguez stuff before Spy Kids, which is why he got into this. I'm pretty sure he did because Robert Rodriguez also did some Spanish stuff, and Antonio Banderas obviously is pretty bilingual and everything, so he shows up in a lot of this. So the mom, Antonio Banderas plays the dad spy. The mom spy is someone that you will recognize if you see her, but don't know her name. Her name is Carla Gugino, or Gugino, something like that. Definitely, I recognized her face, and it was bugging me because I was thinking the whole movie, what did I just see her in? And it's we haven't watched yet, but Gerald's Game, that Stephen King adaptation that just came out on Netflix, she's the main girl in it. And I saw her on the picture, and I watched the trailer. I'm like, that is where I just saw her. And for those of you that don't know, Gerald's Game is where a couple goes on a retreat to this secluded cabin, and then she gets tied up while they're doing a sexual thing, and he has a heart attack and dies on top of her. And so she's tied up in this cabin and can't get away, and he's dead, and no one knows she's there. There you go, Stephen King. But she was also in San Andreas with The Rock, which is pretty cool. Oh, The Haunting of Hill House. We watched the first episode of that.
We didn't watch the first episode of that. We watched the first 10 minutes.
You watched the first 10 minutes. I watched the first episode.
Yeah.
I still want to finish that. I know you weren't really digging it, but I want to finish that. She was in Wayward Pines. That too. Remember Wayward Pines, the show we watched with Matt Dillon, and it was kind of what we thought Twin Peaks was. She was the mom, Kate Houston, the one that he like falls in love with at the diner.
Oh,
that was her. I knew that she looked so familiar, and I could not for the life of me think where I knew her from. And there's so much stuff here. Oh, no, never mind. It said Doubt, and we were just talking about the movie Doubt, but it's a TV movie version of Doubt.
Yeah, no.
She was in New Girl. She was a recurring character, but you didn't watch that. I did. Mr. Popper's Penguins. She was in Sucker Punch, which is a movie my dad likes, and Sucker Punch is definitely a movie that everyone's dad likes, and that's about it. She was in Entourage. She was in Watchmen. She played Silk Spectre in Watchmen. You've seen Watchmen, right?
Yes.
I haven't seen it in so long. We should watch that one again. That's
I don't
a good
remember
movie.
liking it very much.
I love it, but it's because I like Rorschach. He's super cool. I like him a lot. But yeah, she was in a lot of fun stuff. She was in Sin City as well, so there's the Robert Rodriguez connection. She got to do that. Yeah, she's in a bunch of fun stuff. She was in Spin City. That's probably like one of the first bigger roles she was in, was being in Spin City. I remember that. I really liked Spin City with Michael J. Fox. You never watched that show? Yeah, Michael J. Fox was in it, and then when he left, Martin Sheen came in and took his place.
Interesting.
I'm not sure if he left because of the Parkinson's started acting up, and that's like about the time, or if he just had something else he was doing or something like that. But yeah, she was in a lot of good stuff. So that's the mom. The girl, Alexa Penavega, that's her name. I definitely remember that now because I think I had a crush on her when I was a kid because she was like the spy kid. I'm sure you had a crush on her as well.
And I think she was also Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Yeah, I believe so. We'll find out right now. But yeah, Alexa Penavega, she played, not Juni, what's her name? Carmen. She played the daughter in Spy Kids. And let's see what she did recently. Has she done it? Nothing that I noticed recently. It looks like a bunch of like Lifetime movies and stuff. And like a Coca-Cola short. So she hasn't had as much. Oh, she was on Nashville. Okay. Like, that's kind of cool, I guess. Hayden Panettiere was in that, I believe. She was in Sin City. Okay, so she got to...
So they stayed with the same director.
They do, yeah. She was in Machete. So she got to come back and maybe reprise her role. It says she played Killjoy here. Maybe that's her, like, spy name. Carmen's spy name is Killjoy. That's super cool. Yeah, nothing of note except for Spy Kids.
She was in a movie that I think was called Sleepover. Something to that effect.
Yep, right here, yes. Julie, Sleepover.
And I remember that was like another one where it was like a coming of age, like around 13, and like we went and saw it, and it was like, again, it'd be interesting to actually watch it as an adult, but I remember at the time thinking it was like the coolest thing ever.
It's funny because she was in the Bernie Mac show for an episode, which is very interesting. I don't think a lot of people remember fondly of the Bernie Mac show, but I used to watch that all the time. I love the Bernie Mac show. Okay, so the brother, the son, Juni Cortez, his name is Daryl Sabara. And what were we were just saying he was in something that we were like, oh my gosh, Friends. When he was a kid, he was in the episode of Friends where Monica and Chandler are going to talk to the family about adopting. So it's a later season. It was like 2002, 2003. And it's the kid where Chandler tells him he's adopted, but the kid doesn't know he's adopted. That's Juni. So we were kind of laughing that he was in that. I'm also laughing because he's in a bunch of Meghan Trainor shorts right now, which is interesting. He does a lot of voice work. He's in a lot of video games. He's in a lot of cartoons like Ben 10. I think I saw like Ultimate Spider-Man or something like that. Avengers Assemble is in here. So he kind of used his career to go that route, the voiceover route. He was in John Carter, which was a live action film. Not many people liked John Carter, honestly. He was in Machete again. Like, so I guess everyone who was in Spy Kids just was in Machete. And World's Greatest Dad, which is a Robin Williams movie that I actually really want to watch, and I haven't gotten around to seeing it yet. It says he plays Kyle Clayton. So anyone out there who knows World's Greatest Dad, there you go. I don't think there's many of you. He was in the Halloween reboot in 2007, which was when I was a senior in high school that came out. So that's kind of cool. He probably died real quick in that one. I never saw the reboot. And he's in like Polar Express and a few other things here and there doing voiceover work. Yeah. So that is the principal cast. But what's kind of cool is that we had Cheech Marin show up as their uncle, well, their fake uncle. And Cheech, everyone knows Cheech.
Yeah,
Cheech and Chong. I don't even need to tell you. There's like 500 movies that he was in where they're just getting high and having fun the whole time. Let's see here. We have Danny Trejo. He played Machete, obviously, which is their real uncle, and everyone knows who Danny Trejo is.
Yes.
Trejo's Tacos.
Classic.
If you live in L.A., you know Trejo's Tacos. Like, come on. Let's see here. We were laughing. It's funny that Tony Shalhoub isn't on the front page here. You have to actually go into see full cast to see Tony Shalhoub. So Tony Shalhoub was in this. He played someone named Alexander Minion. This was right before or around the same time he started doing Monk, which is funny. He's not even listed here. Why am I not seeing him listed here? That really frustrates me because Tony Shalhoub is like one of my favorite actors.
Is he one of your favorite actors, or is he in one of your favorite shows?
He's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
I guess I don't like him as much in other things, but I still watch him in other stuff. But yeah, he's Monk, essentially, for those of you. He was also in Pain and Gain. He plays like the bad guy in Pain and Gain, or the douchey guy and everything.
Yeah, Monk is the classic
Yeah,
role.
He's a great actor. I love that guy. We have Mike Judge, who was Donegan. I think he was one of the spies, but you may know Mike Judge. If this is the same Mike Judge, let me double check before I say that. But I'm pretty sure he's the guy who created Beavis and Butthead. Yep. And King of the Hill. And I feel like, King of the Hill and Beavis and Butthead. Those are the two things that he's most well known for. Kind of funny that he showed up there, another one, George Clooney pops up at the end, which is really, really awesome. We'll talk about that as we go through like the story a little bit. That was fun. And I think that's everyone of note. The dude who played Floop is Alan Cumming. A lot of you will know him if you saw his face, but you probably don't know the name. He was in things like GoldenEye. That's really the only thing I can think of. He was Boris in GoldenEye, the dude who makes what was it? Was it like a hacker program or a software or something? And he's like, I'm invincible or whatever. And then I think he gets like shot. I haven't seen GoldenEye in forever. I remember the name and who he was, and I definitely recognize his face. I just forget like what happened in GoldenEye. Let's see, Alan Cumming, if he's in anything interesting that we did not think of. He was in a 30 Seconds to Mars video. Good for him. The Smurfs 2 and the Smurfs. Oh, that's great. This is awesome. He was in Burlesque. Wasn't that like a...
The Christina Aguilera movie? With
maybe.
Cher?
Let's find out. Yeah, I think that is it. Yeah, it's that movie.
Interesting.
Very, very weird. So yeah, he played Nightcrawler in the official game for X-Men.
Wasn't he Nightcrawler in X-Men 2?
Was he?
Yeah.
You're right. Boom. It's hard to tell though because he has so much crap on him, like so many prosthetics and paint and everything. You're right. He was Kurt Wagner.
Yeah, I remember that.
Kurt Wagner. So he does have some stuff under his belt that's perfect for this podcast.
Yeah.
So that's the principal cast. A lot of good stuff there, a lot of good names. That was fun. So let's talk about the movie a little bit. I took a few notes, but we kind of just watched this, enjoyed it for what it was. And I did enjoy this. I laughed quite a few times.
Yeah, they had some good stingers.
But there were also some really boring, stupid parts too. I was telling you, I felt like what happened is they filmed a 2-hour movie, and then Robert Rodriguez was told, you have an hour and a half, cut out 30 minutes, and instead of reshooting anything, he just cut crap out and didn't explain it.
Yeah,
there were multiple times where it didn't make sense and it was inconsistent.
I think it's not for adults. You're not supposed to be watching it as an adult and looking for plot holes.
Exactly. So the first thing is, did Mr. and Mrs. Smith steal their storyline? Because at the very beginning, Mom Spy and Dad Spy are telling the kids a story, and the bedtime story is the story of them, although the kids don't know it at that time. And it's essentially Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is kind of funny.
I mean, I think it's also like a pretty classic spy love story, but
the spies
again, growing up as a 90s kid, like as soon as we heard that, we both looked at each other and we're like, okay, so were they Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Exactly. That was funny. The kids do weird jungle gym things every morning, which I thought was kind of an interesting. They live on a freaking cliff. Like, I couldn't figure out where this was supposed to take place.
Yeah.
I thought at first, like, super Southern California, but then it seemed like everything was in Spanish. I'm like, maybe Mexico.
I think it's just this, like,
but everyone was
land.
speaking English, but everything was Spanish style. Like, the houses were all Spanish style, and the architecture and all the signs were in Spanish. So I was completely confused of where the heck this was supposed to take place.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that the house they lived in was on a cliff all by itself on the water, and Floop's castle thing... Floop is a character, was all by itself on the water. So I'm like, does everyone just live on a house by themselves on the water? Like, what is this crap? They have to, it's funny because the main idea is that the parents are like, we have to share our secret with the kids. We have to tell them that we were spies because Carmen's cutting class and Juni doesn't have a lot of friends, isn't a weird kid. So I'm like, so you have to tell them your secret because they're just kids? Like, that's what kids do. Rebellious kids cut class. Nerdy kids don't have friends. And
I don't think they were saying we have to be honest with them. I think they were saying, how can we expect them to be honest with us when we're not being honest with them? And they weren't actually going to tell them everything until they actually got captured. And then they were like, why didn't we tell them? Yeah,
that's true. I don't know. That MacGuffin of it, like the whole we should tell them, it felt unrealistic to me. I was just like, why? I don't get the reasoning behind why you feel like you have to tell your kids right now.
I think also they were thinking, God forbid anything happened to them, like we ended up seeing, because they had a whole security system in their house, like so they wouldn't be confused. Like, hey, if this alarm triggers,
that's true.
You should go and do X, Y, and Z instead of them just being completely like terrified and not knowing what was happening.
Yeah, I guess that's true. If the better to have the knowledge and not, the more you know.
Yeah.
So they drop their kids off at school. They pick them up. Things are going on. They're saying that we need to tell our kids their secret, but they get a call from, I forget, Devin or Dobbin or something, who we find out later is George Clooney, and says all these spies are being kidnapped, captured. We don't know where they are. Yeah, they're disappearing. We're calling in the old big guns. We need you to do it. So they decide they're going to go do it, and they leave them with Uncle whoever, which is Uncle Felix, who is Cheech, who is another spy who's there to actually. Well, Cheech is a spy. That's the most unrealistic thing in the whole movie.
They didn't say he was a spy. They said he was hired to protect them.
So he's like a bodyguard. Still unrealistic for Cheech. But it was nice to see him show up in this movie. So he comes to the house to watch the kids. The alarm goes off, like you said, which means the thumbs. Well, we find out that Floop. So Floop is this guy who has this TV show.
Which is like the equivalent of Barney, pretty much.
Essentially, but with nightmare fuel. He has these creatures that are his friends. He has all thumb creatures, weird, what I think they called either floopins or flugins or floopians or fallopian tubes. I don't know.
It's fallopian tube.
Not if you're from New Jersey. Yeah, he has this TV show, and we find out pretty early on that there's a suspect that all the spies, they're going to him because he's creating this army for this evil guy. We never find out who this evil guy really is. He's played by the guy who plays the liquid Terminator from T2. And we never find out the real agenda of what's going on here, but we know, okay, this guy is the mastermind behind it. Him and his worker, Alexander Minion, who's Tony Shalhoub. So the Antonio Banderas and mom, they go to, I forget her name, they go to stop Floop. They get captured, and in the meantime, Floop sends his army out to capture the kids, to coerce them into doing what he needs. And that's when Cheech kind of sacrifices himself and lets the kids go. Now they know the secret.
Yep.
So the kids are going to the safe house, which they get to, and then they're fooled into letting someone who they think is a friendly in, who's not a friendly, and they're looking for what's called the third brain. And this is what's going to take their robots that they're making of children that look like the prime minister's kid and the president's kid. And this third brain will be able to get the robots to function like real kids instead of talking babble, like gibberish, essentially, so that they can implant these people, these robot kids, without them knowing, and then take over the world, essentially, right? Yep. So Floop's army goes to the safe house and tries to take the third brain. Well, Juni and Carmen and Juni stop them, and pretty much that's the whole thing, is they continually are thwarting their plans, and then they have to go to Floop's castle to save their parents. Now, they meet their uncle Machete along the way, Danny Trejo, which is super awesome. And Danny Trejo makes all these crazy gadgets and stuff, which are like instant cement and like electrical chewing gum and crap like that.
Yeah.
So Danny Trejo is like, no, my brother, we fought about something. I don't like him. I'm not going to go save him.
Machete is like not a bad guy, but he makes all these incredible like inventions and he sells them to both sides.
Yes.
So that's why there's
like
a falling out.
He's the Tony Stark of our story here. So the kids decide, that's fine, whatever, you don't want to help us. We're going to steal your plane and all your gadgets and go save our parents for ourselves. Well, while this is going on, Floop is having kind of an existential crisis and realizing, I just want to create a kid's show and do things that are good. And Minion ends up actually being the mastermind behind everything. And now that he has the third brain, he's like, I don't need you anymore. I can do this all myself. So now he's actually the big bad guy. And Floop is kind of like, I regret what I did and I want to be a good guy.
Pawn.
He was the pawn the whole time. So, but they lock him up in what's called the virtual room. So it's like he's in a virtual... it's essentially the holodeck from Star Trek, which is kind of interesting. So the kids sneak into Floop's castle and they get their parents out. First off, their dad gets turned into a Flugin thing, and they have to reverse it.
Yeah.
Junie goes into the virtual room and helps get Floop out. He kind of makes Floop good. So now it's Carmen, Junie, and Floop. They rescue the parents. Now all of them are a team. And what happens is Tony Shalhoub, Minion, he's pretty much doing a demonstration of all the kids for the buyer. And by doing so, he has them fight all of the spies. But Floop has been working to try and stop the kids, and
with
he ends up
binary code.
He ends up reprogramming the kids so that they are like happy and helpful rather than wanting to kill and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's the gist of the story. They turn it around. Floop gets his TV show that he wants. All these robot kids are showing up to save people around the world. No one's questioning why they look like politicians' kids. I don't know why the news isn't being like, the president's son just showed up and saved someone from a burning building, but the president's son is right over there. What's going on?
Like I always say, you can't apply logic to these things.
It was weird. So happy ending.
Yeah.
We get the very end where George Clooney calls in.
Yes.
And this bit is hilarious because he has a sensor bar over his eyes. And he's saying, hey, we need you to come in. And mom and dad say, no, we're retired. And he goes, no, I was actually talking to the kids.
Yeah.
We need spy kids. And as he's talking, he like takes the sensor bar off, like it's glasses, and like kind of looks at it and is talking to him and like puts it back and everything. That was very well done. That made me laugh a lot. There was a moment too where Floop, he was like, let me check to see if the program has already been made. And when he hits the button, all the screens say too late. He goes, it's too late. Like that made me laugh real hard.
That was funny.
So that's the show. So one moment that was really funny is when you're watching the Flugen things or whatever, and they're talking gibberish, and they're like, if you play it backwards, see what happens. And it's Floop is a crazy man, save us, or whatever. I'm like, what are they, Led Zeppelin? Like, play it backwards.
I know.
So freaking ridiculous.
Like 70s paranoia.
Yeah, it's so funny. And then the thing, too, is that they say Floop's TV show is on weekday mornings from 7:30 to 8. Who's watching that? Like, how is that a good time slot? That's what they were saying.
He was watching it in the car on the drive to school.
Yeah.
Remember? And then that's why he was like, turn it off. And that's why he was like, his time to watch it.
But what I'm saying is Floop was kind of like, how are we going to make us number one? Because I guess they were like high in the charts, but they weren't number one. I'm like, well, first off, change your time slot. Weekday 7:30 to 8. No one's watching crap on weekdays 7:30 to 8.
I mean, apparently so. They had figurines and everything going on.
Yeah, and why was everyone unaware of what was going on around them? Kids are flying with jetpacks with thumbs trying to eat them. And literally everyone in like the stores.
Nobody was even reacting.
No one was reacting to how weird this crap was that was going around.
It was interesting because like even in like Marvel movies and superhero movies, people were reacting to their environment around them. But in this superhero movie, everybody was just oblivious.
Yeah, it felt disconnected and weird. That's one of the things I didn't like. I told you I didn't like that it felt like there were hard cuts, places that were missing things. And I didn't like that it felt disconnected to everything. Also, the CGI was awful. Yeah. But what can you... And it's funny, too, because you could see scenes where half of the scene was practical and half was CGI. And it was just blatantly obvious what was practical and what wasn't. We've come so far. But Addison... Did this wreck your childhood watching this?
No, not at all.
No?
I feel like it held up in the sense that I'm like, oh my gosh, all the things that I remember thinking were super cool at the time still were like cool as an adult.
Uh-huh.
But like I was asking Jordan after we watched it, I'm like, do you think that our parents thought, wow, this movie is horrible? Or do you think that while they were watching it, they were like, oh, this is pretty good. Like, this is the best CGI we've seen. Or, you know what I mean? But I'm like,
yeah.
So I feel like personally it didn't wreck although I'm not planning on watching this movie again anytime soon.
No, this is not one of those nostalgic movies like, say, The Goonies or something like that where it has replayability. Granted, I would watch it if my kids want to. Like, it's a good movie where it's enough entertaining for an adult to watch if the kids want to watch it. But it's not entertaining enough to make you want to come back to it all the time if you're an adult. And I agree with you. It didn't wreck my childhood because I remember it being kind of campy.
Yeah.
Even as a kid.
You were 12.
I was 12. So I was getting to that point where I was almost watching, like I was at the point where like I was watching Lost in Space. Like the movie that came out, and I was The Rundown and these things that were coming out soon after. So like I was right in that transitional period where my parents were letting me watch more adult stuff, like finally letting me watch that, but also I was still holding on to the kids stuff because
you still do that as a 30-year-old.
Well, I still do that now, but like when you're 12 years old, you never know, like, am I a teen yet? Am I a kid? Like, what am I? Yeah, it's so weird. So I would say, it didn't wreck my childhood, but it was definitely campy, but I was expecting that.
Yeah,
so it wasn't
part of the
shock.
fun.
Yeah, so let me look and see if there's some trivia things here that we could do. So it says director Robert Rodriguez edited this movie in his garage. But by garage, they really mean it's a state-of-the-art studio that's at his home, but he calls it his garage. So when you think of garage, you're thinking of like Steve or Bill Gates making Microsoft out of his garage. No, this dude was like had a really nice garage. The characters in the film, Gregorio, Carmen, and Juni, are named after family members that Robert Rodriguez has. Maybe he made this movie for like a kid and like a nephew or a kid or something.
Maybe.
So Carlo Gugino, the wife, was reluctant to accept the role of Ingrid Cortez. Gugino felt she was too young at the age of 29. She was only 29 there. She looked like she was older. To have an 8-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl as her children. Director Robert Rodriguez told her that his own mother had him and all of his siblings by the time she was 30, and they were similar age as the kids in the movie. Gugino was reassured and ultimately accepted the role. This was the last Rodriguez movie shot on film. He did everything digital after that, I guess. And post-production was done at Skywalker Ranch. What? That's fun. I like that.
Not quite as good as the stuff they produce now.
Yeah. San Diablo is Spanish oxymoron, meaning holy devil or sainted devil. Who was San Diablo? I don't even remember that.
I don't know.
So this was shot over a period of 10 weeks. And that's that stuff there. Crazy credits. After the credits, we see one more. You didn't let me watch the post-credit teaser.
I did not let you watch it.
I'm just kidding. I didn't even think there would be one. I always make the joke of like, let's watch the post-credit teaser. And there was one. It says, after the credits, we see one more panning shot of one of the hallways in Floop's castles. Okay, like what would that have mattered at all? I don't know. So that's fun. That was a fun movie. I enjoyed rewatching that with you.
Yeah, I definitely think it was worth the rewatch.
I probably won't go as far as say let's do Spy Kids 2, 3D, and 4.
No.
But watch. In fact, I don't even know if I saw the sequels when I was
not.
younger. Yeah,
I'm not
Maybe I
interested
saw
in
the second
seeing
one, but I couldn't tell you like anything about any of them. Not at all.
No.
Like I said, I was right at that point where I was starting to feel like I need to start watching a little bit more of adult movies and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Movies. So yeah, I'm gonna throw out the plugs there. I think we're done talking about it. I'm not gonna read through any more stuff because I don't want any dead air here for people to have to listen to me being like, hold on one sec while I read this article I should have read beforehand to give you guys information you can find on your own on Google.
Plugs.
So you can find us on Instagram and Twitter with the handle @RecMyPodcast. You can also email us at recmypodcast@gmail.com if you have a suggestion for us. We're on all major podcasting apps as well as YouTube, so you can check us out there if you don't watch the video version. It's fun. The video version's fun. Yeah, hey, we see you. Rate, review, subscribe. That really helps us out. Anytime someone gives us a review, we read it on our Around a Round Table episode, so you'll get a shout out from there. If you want to support us financially and also get some fun rewards while you're at it, check out our Patreon by going to patreon.com/RecMyPodcast. We have a ton of exclusive content. For just $1 a month, you can get our exclusive content where we record some fun episode stuff just for our patrons. So you guys can check out their other tiers. As you go up, you get to choose a topic. We send you a Funko Pop doll. We send you a sticker on one of them. One of them has Cam drawing you a custom art piece that we'll send you. So there's some cool stuff there. Go check it out. The patrons we have now is Ryan Buds. He has an awesome podcast called Trivia with Buds. Go check that out. We have Phen of Phen Enterprises. Joe Janero from the Comic Book Rundown podcast. Awesome podcast. Go check it out. Marissa Colatrella. I'm sorry, Marissa. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, but that's you.
Hey, our last name is Zeilinger, okay?
I know.
Like, we understand. It's
We
frustrating,
get
but
it.
it's hard.
We have a brand new patron, Christopher Adamowicz. So thank you, Christopher, for being a brand new patron. We also have the Brew Interviews. They're a great podcast who support us financially. And The Difference Between Us, which is now Low Tree Studios. They're awesome. Go check them out as well. We have merchandise if you want it. It's so cool.
We just ordered ours.
Yeah, we're going to get our shirts soon. We get stickers came in the mail, but the shirts are coming soon. If you go to recmypodcast.com and then click Shop Our Merch, that'll take you to our Redbubble store, or you can go to redbubble.com/people/recmypodcast. A little bit harder. Just go to recmypodcast.com and click the merch tab. We have some fun stuff. We have
oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Sega Nintendo font. We have a Nickelodeon one. We have.
Tell them about my favorite one.
Which one's your favorite one?
The Krager one.
Oh, yeah. So we have one that has Krager's face on it that says, "Shut up, Krager." And Madison planted the idea in my head, and I brought it to fruition, and I am so happy that I did. And I am waiting. No one's bought one yet. But I'm waiting for this one to blow up because this shirt is amazing.
What I'm waiting for is the duvet of it.
Yes,
that's
you can buy.
What I think.
For only $86, you can buy a king-size bed duvet with Krager's giant face on it.
Oh my gosh,
Come
I think
on.
that is hilarious.
If that's not perfect, I don't know what is. Thank you to Ben from Petrified Gumbo Music for making our amazing intro song. If you have a podcast or show you need a composition for, hit him up at petrifiedgumbomusic.com. We have episodes come out every Monday called Around a Round Table. That's where me and my friends get together and just talk about stuff. It's a segment show, so we have different segments. There's trivia. It's a lot of fun. So go check that one out. Every Wednesday, like you're listening to now, we have a topic show. Some topics coming up are probably going to be things like Rush Hour. We're going to cover Twilight Zone. We're going to cover Avengers Endgame. I know that we're recording an episode about TV pilots, but who knows when that one's I'm putting that one in the pipeline for a special occasion, so we're going to see when that one comes out down the line. So fun stuff there. If you're really more into the niche kind of things and you want to hear something like this, boom, Wednesdays are your place to go. Thank you for being here with me, Madison, even though you live here with me.
I really didn't have a choice.
I really do appreciate you doing this to me, though. I know I kind of take over and talk a lot more, but I appreciate you letting me do that.
You have better stuff to say.
Not really.
Yes.
I just am more vocal.
It's your podcast.
Yeah, it's my podcast. I can cry if I want to.
Yes.
And finally, thank you, listeners, because without you, we would be like a tree falling in the forest with no one to hear us.
Ooh.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Good one.
Wreck My Podcast. Wreck My Podcast.
It's always a little echoey in here, I noticed, but
it is a pretty echoey place.
It is a pretty echoey place. So let me pull up some things I have here. I have some notes on here. I'll put this over here. That's the way, I like it. That's the way, I like it. So do we think, I'm trying to decide, am I going to release this one this week and then keep the pilot one in the pipeline? I think I might do that.
Sure.
Yeah. I think I'm going to do that. Okay, you ready to do this thing?
Oh, I'm as ready as a flooper.
A flooper? I think you should talk a little bit, like pull it a little bit closer to you.
A flooper.
Are they called floopers or floobles? I think they were called like floobles.
I just know he was floop.
He was floop, and floops and his floobles, I think, is what they were called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you know that makes
floopers.
That makes way more sense than a flooper, a flooble. It's like a boll weevil. All right.
Wreck My Podcast.